you from the Radio for One studios in Franklin, Michigan. Welcome to the Detroit Cast.
Big fan.
A show not just free of charge, but free of FCC regulations.
Thank you for your support of the Detroit Cast.
Oh, there it is.
And without further delay, it's showtime. Please welcome the Detroit Cast. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Mike and Jay. Shalom, Biggie. Hello, Jay.
Gentlemen,
How are you, my friend?
not bad.
Not bad? Wish I could say the same. It's been a rough go this morning.
Sad news.
Yeah. You know, I don't know how many people know or if the news is out there yet, but we had a death in the family this morning. The Drew and Mike family, that is. Mike Clark passed away. And, Drew called me this morning pretty early, and I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. And I was like, hey, Drew, what's going on? He's like, hey, man, sorry to do this, but I'm calling with terrible, terrible news. And then it's just like your heart just sinks because you don't know what's coming next. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously something terrible has happened. And then immediately my mind is flipping through the Rolodex of mutual friends and stuff. And I was like, I go, what is it, man? And he just goes, are you sitting down? I said, yeah, I am. And he just said, Mike Clark passed away. And I was just like, oh, fuck, you got to be kidding me. Just one of those moments, man. And it's like, so all fucking morning, then you're just thinking about, God damn, I've known this guy 23 years, worked with him 12 hours a day for, 17 years, you know, and I know Isis knew him. You probably met him once or twice, Jay, over the years.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't know him well, obviously. But know that he was loved by many.
Yeah, that's, when you think about this town, radio in this town, Mike Clark is a legend. He's a treasure in this town, and people are going to be really fucking bummed to hear that because, Mike, I know, was in the middle of writing a book. And he was, I'd laugh because every 6 months or so he'd make a post like, feeling better, should be back on the podcast soon and stuff like that. And I know he did a call recently into Drew's show and Mark and Trudy and but I know he wanted to do that, but he's been sick for a while. And, unfortunately, I don't have any details about what happened or anything like that. But it's hard to just talk about it right now, like talking about a friend like that in the past tense. He's
Sure.
Honest to God, probably like if you were to ask me who's the funniest person you've ever met, it would probably be Mike Clark. I mean, he's one of those guys, everyone knows that guy. Like they just walk into a room and you start laughing, those people. That was Clark. Like he'd walk into a room, just the way he would walk in. Oh, God's sake. Yeah. you just see him and you just start laughing. And he'd always have some ridiculous story from what happened to him the night before or whatever. And I just jotted down some like really quick, just some things that I remember that we did. And people will be familiar with these stories and stuff. And I don't know how much backstory I can give you that hasn't been out there, but I think about his bachelor party. he never got to have a bachelor party. And so Trish was going out of town and I should start by giving my condolences to Trish and to Mike's sister Cynthia, and obviously his father Dick Clark is still alive and hanging in there. And I can only imagine what they're going through. Trish, it's like you and Gab. I mean, Trish and Mike are like the perfect pair, both weirdos and together all the time. Don't go anywhere without each other and just live for each other, And but Mike never had a bachelor party, and she was going out of town. It was like, just throw you a bachelor party, man.
Never too late.
30 years after the fact, let's do this thing. And we got a limo and some strippers, and we went down to Matt Riley's bar, and it was closed, but we go in there.
Well, he's the owner, so
probably better that way, right?
Oh yeah, it had to be that way. And so we go in there, we hang sheets on the windows so people walking by can't even look in. And then it was just like, well, bar's open. We had tickets to the Tiger game. He wanted to go to the casino, and so
did that happen?
Yeah, all of it happened.
Okay, no, because I could see those other things not happening.
It was amazing. It was the greatest day ever. And so we go down there, and we've got strippers in the car, and we've all got glitter all over us. It was just obnoxious. So we go into the bar, and we're all drinking and stuff, and it's like, where's Clark at? where'd he go, man? And you look over, and he's got like a little rug on the ground, and he's got two strippers like hooking up with each other, and Clark's laying on his belly like, oh yeah, you go there, you do that, put your leg over her, and he's mock filming it, like
he should have been a porn director, probably.
Dude,
honestly,
he probably should have.
Seriously, that dude, like, I've never personally met somebody
who
like that cared.
Yeah.
Like he would have been like when Jay would talk about your boy at like Western who watched porn like critically.
Yeah, connoisseur.
Yeah. That's like this. Like he could have probably actually been like made good porn, I guess, or something.
He probably could have, because he was. The thing about Mike is he's super, super detailed. That's what people loved about him. It was the way he told a story, the salad story and stuff like that. If you listen to it, it's the way he told it, because there's a ton of color in it, lots of details.
He could have done shit on stage if he really wanted. The stories, you didn't need to necessarily be a listener. Like that salad story could be told to other people, you know what I mean? If you were just like, I mean, not every story, I can't vouch for everyone, but you're right. He had a way of telling those that could have been done on stage if he wanted to.
For sure. And so we end up getting hammered at Riley's bar, and then make our way to the Tiger game. It's like an afternoon Tiger game. Went over there, and then this fucking motley looking crew ends up at the casino and start playing blackjack, and we're all drunk, and Clark ends up passing out at the blackjack table. He's sound asleep, and he's got his pile of money has dwindled, and Riley just keeps playing his hands for him while Clark's face down. Clark wakes up and he's up $2,000. He just kept playing his hand. The guys, they're coming over to the table. They're like, sir, you can't sleep at the table. Oh, no, I'm good. I'm fine. It's fine. And then boom, out again. Wakes up $2,000 richer. I think about Matt Riley, fucking piece of work. When we did a few years in a row. We went to Vegas, and listeners would go, and people could win trips, kind of like the P and his trip to Hawaii. and Clark's like, I got a surprise for all you guys afterwards. Don't just have someone pick you up at the airport, but don't bring your cars or anything. And we're like, okay. And so we all go out there, and he's acquired through the inner circle the private jet of Bob Seger and Kid Rock.
Oh shit!
For the flight home.
What?
Yeah. So he's like, I got us a private jet for the ride home, and so there we are in Kid Rock and Bob Seger's jet, fucking just
from Vegas back to
here. From Vegas back to Detroit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, on the way home, which is
shit.
Yeah, it was awesome, and I got to go flying with him, plane man. And the funny thing about that is, he flew me. He was like, we'll go over Aretha's house. He wanted me to see Aretha's house's skank. And so he's like, look, you're right. There's Aretha's house, and there's her fucking heart-shaped pool, just like half of it caved in.
Blown out.
Yeah, terrible. But the funny thing was, like, he's so funny, but then he'd get in that plane and he'd put the headphones on and he would turn into like serious pilot guy.
I would hope so, man.
679er, 243.
But pilots love that. That is their shit.
Oh, he would get rocked. Right. He was absolutely rocked sitting in the cockpit. It's fitting. And total professional, went flying with it, just had a blast. He was just so much fun to hang out with. And everyone knows the stories of the salad story, for instance, where he got shit-faced drunk and passed out in his salad. And that story, I've probably told you guys this before, but that story almost never aired. That story, like, he was like embarrassed of it. I mean, why wouldn't you, a grown-ass adult passing out face first in your salad with garlic ranch dressing? And we were out on the smoking porch at the old Riff building, and he's out there. He's like, "Oh man, fucking weekend! You wouldn't believe what I did." And I'm like, "Oh boy, this ought to be good." We got a 10-minute commercial break. What happened? And he starts telling the story. He's like, "Oh man, it's just beer cans as far as the eye can see. The entire countertop is empty beer cans." He said, "I'm grilling steaks at 3 a.m, 4 a.m." He said, "I got this perfect steak, and I make this fucking salad with this garlic ranch. You got to get this garlic ranch dressing, man. It's the greatest fucking dressing ever." He's going on and on and on. And then he's like, and then I wake up, and I'm like, "Oh shit, where am I? I'm in Nam. I'm in my fucking salad." And he keeps doing that. He's like, and the worst thing is, I didn't just pick up and go back to bed. I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna eat this salad." And I start eating again, and then wait, where am I? Fuck, I'm in my salad. I go twice. He goes 4 times.
Oh man.
And I go, "Did you finish your salad?" He goes, "Yeah, I did." He ate it after he passed out. And then he was like, I go, "Mike, you got to tell that story on the air." And he's like, "No way, dude. Everyone will think I'm what a loser, drunk, idiot." And I'm like, who gives a shit? That's literally the funniest story I've ever heard in my life. You have to. And he's like, really? You don't? I'm like, dude, that's fucking hilarious. Yes, you got to tell that story.
That's fucking funny.
And he went in and told the story on the air, and it was maybe his most memorable of all the stories he ever told. Is just so funny, man. Do you have any? Do you remember?
I mean, yeah, obviously. You know what I think for me is being and you were the same way. I was a listener by far first.
Yeah.
So like the stuff that to me that was the coolest are things like just being in the office when he'd do the Mr. Stress, and it was like, holy shit, I'm in here while he's doing this.
Wait, what?
Oh, I was. Oh, sorry.
You're breaking down the fourth wall.
Are you saying
Mr. Stress wasn't on the road?
Spoiler alert for anybody that didn't know this yet. But like it was like things like that, I guess, and then like he'd be getting his coffee, and the show would be, Drew would usually be going into sports or news, so he'd have a few minutes where he would just talk, and it was like I remember it just being very surreal at times, just like, holy shit, this is fucking Mike Clark, and I'm like getting my own little thing here. He's giving me some commentary on, like you said, some shit that had happened or something he thought about in the news. Never short of an opinion on something.
He would do that. He would do traffic or whatever. That's hella traffic, and hang up the phone and then talk to Eric. And then after like 10 minutes, someone would be like, hey man, will you go into our office and fucking tell Clark, get Clark in here and tell Eric to shut up and stop talking to him?
I was bad because I just
you can imagine Clark loves to talk, and so does E.
Right, so I just would. You're right. I would ask him questions, and you're right. That would happen pretty soon. I think it'd be like 10 minutes, and I'm like, dude, sorry. I guess you should be on the show or something. Honestly, another one I always...
Hold on. Going back to the traffic light, because Jay was fooled. Jay obviously thought...
Totally fooled.
Stress was on the road.
This is huge news to me.
We had a reel-to-reel in the office that just had traffic background sound on it, like ambient traffic sounds with horns and shit. And so he would use my phone in the office because it was connected to the... Mark and I shared an office connected to the studio. And so he would come in there and he'd hit play on the reel-to-reel. And it's just beep, beep. You'd hear it in the background, and then we'd pull up the M.dot or whatever the traffic was, and he'd go, yeah, 696 looks like crap today, whatever.
I forgot. You're right, duh.
Yeah, and then there was the one day when and I would usually go in there in advance and dial the phone. He didn't even know the hotline number, I don't think. So I would pick up the phone and dial the hotline and just set it down, and then it would be blinking in the studio. And so Drew would know, okay, Stress is calling in. I could see him, and he could pick it up or whatever. So I call and I set it down, and Clark is gone. He's somewhere taking a shit. I don't know what he's doing, talking to some girl in the fucking lobby. Who knows? And I just see Drew looking in the window like, the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
He's giving me this, like, hello. He's picked the hotline up, and I'm like, I don't know where he is. And so I just pick up the phone. I go, yeah, how's it going? He goes, Stress? No, this is his brother, Less Stress. And he goes, oh. And I start reading the traffic thing. I'm like, looks like bumper to bumper on 75. And all of a sudden Clark walks in, and I'm like, oh, hold on. Stress is coming back now. And I just hand him the phone, and Drew's just like, hey, Stress.
Fuck?
And he's like, I didn't know you had a brother. He's like, yeah, well, you never asked. And so that was the birth of Less Stress.
That's fucking funny
in that moment. Yeah.
I will tell you, to me, honestly, one of the things, I wasn't even an intern anymore, but we went to Joey's wedding, and it was the only time I hung out with both of them outside the show. Individually, I think I had moments, but it was the only time I was with. So it was like you, Fellhauer, Mark, or Drew and Mike or whatever. And I don't know if you remember this, probably not, but Joey's brother got up and told this long fucking speech, and it was like, and
was it good?
Best man speech? No. And he did like this.
I've seen Jay do it really well too.
No,
You've done some great speeches at weddings.
Well,
he did this GPS
the prayers
thing
too. It's dynamite.
Well, he did this GPS thing. Joey's brother did, where he's like, it was talking about going down 70. It was some weird fucking analogy about like going down the roads and how Joey and Michelle were together. And I just remember I was with Chubbs even. Chubbs was my +1 for this wedding. And Clark was just like, man, maybe he should have, he made some remark about maybe he should have looked up this directions before he got in the speech or some shit. It was just really timely and really fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And it was for me, again, as a listener, getting to be in this part where it was like I was at this wedding. It wasn't on the show. It was not a thing on normal. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got to see like moments. And
it takes a while to get used to that. But I got a crash course in it because our old studio, we talked about how Drew, Mike, Mark, and I shared an office. And it was this tiny room, and it was just packed with shit. Like you could sit at individual
just
seats.
Books,
memorabilia, shit people sent us, articles ripped out of newspapers. Because everything back then, you didn't do anything digitally, so it was all you had newspapers and magazines, and it looked like a hoarder situation. And we had this, we hated having to go all the way down the hall to make coffee because Drew and Mike both drank a shitload of coffee, and so we got ourselves a coffee machine. And it was this nice Bunn, BUNN coffee machine, and it's just in the back of it. Turns into like now shit's growing outside of it, and I don't know why, but like we made a pot of coffee one day and didn't clean it out or didn't empty it, and it turned into a fucking science experiment, just green shit in there. And Clark got mad at it. He's like, this fucking piece of shit Bunn.
Dude,
piece of shit Bunn. And I walk in and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, this piece of shit Bunn. Look at this. It's filthy. I'm like, that is a piece of shit Bunn. And so Mike and I, for an hour, it just morphs into Bunn, Bunn, because we wanted to talk about it on the air, but you couldn't say piece of shit Bunn. And so for months, we would just walk around Bunn, Bunn. And Drew got so fucking sick of it. He was like, would you guys knock it off? We're like, what? He's talking about the Bunn.
No, dude, it's funny when you say that. Like, you're right. Like, that was the funny thing to me, too. Like, yeah, you couldn't swear on the air, but you're right. When you would sit there and get the coffee after the stress, it would always just be like, if the if just things were, if the printer was going or some weird shit, it would just be like, this cock-sucking mother fucking thing. And I would but I loved it. I remember just like laughing my ass off at this dude because it was just like, you'd be like,
oh, you goddamn cock-sucking piece of shit, motherfucker.
Get so mad, and it would just be like the water was out of the coffee or something.
Yeah, it'd be like, where's the creamer? God fucking sakes, this cock-sucking motherfucking piece of shit.
Fucking great, dude.
It's a miracle he did. I don't know how he'd shut it off and then go on the air. But he was never really mad. He was just always happy, lovable, and loud as fuck. Like to the point where people would have to come down to our office and be like, because his laugh carried for blocks.
Jesus Christ.
His laugh was just, you couldn't help but laugh. You didn't even need to know what he was laughing at. His fucking laugh was so contagious in a good way. You could hear it all through the hallways. He'd, fart and make himself laugh for an hour, just laugh and laugh. There were so many times because Mike and I did the promos together, and so we'd have to go into this other studio away from our air studio to do our promos. And so it's this tiny little thing. It's just got a board, and he didn't know how to run any of that shit. So I'd go in there, I'd write the promo for him, and then I would insert a clip, a minute-long clip or something from whatever happened that day on the show, and Mike would voice it. Hey, in case you missed it today on the show, And one day we're in there, and I ripped the loudest, longest fart while he's in the middle of doing his read. It was just one of those. And he starts laughing so fucking hard, I thought he was going to die. And he's like, he's on a microphone, and I'm feet away, and I'm not on a mic. And so we back it up to see if we can hear if it picked up on his mic. And, of course, in the background there, you just hear. Makes him laugh even harder, and we must have backed that thing up for an hour and fucking laughed hysterically.
Where is that audio now?
I don't. It's probably I have our best ofs. Yeah, somewhere for sure. Yeah. I'll never forget the day he lit his balls on fire.
Oh wait, what?
That son of a bitch.
Here's a Clark would do. He would always have to piss in the middle of the night, always, and so he'd get mad. God damn it, because he wants to sleep. And he's like, fuck, I gotta piss. And he'd go to the bathroom, but he'd be so tired that he would sit down to piss. So he'd sit down, but he couldn't move without having a cigarette. So he'd light a cigarette, and then he'd fall asleep on the toilet.
Oh man.
And so he's sitting on the toilet, and he's got his cigarette, and he throws it in the toilet, but he'd taken a shit. And so it's stacked with paper.
It's sat atop.
And the cigarette didn't hit the water. It hit the stacked up pile of paper, the cloud deck, as he called it, or I think that's what he called it. And all of a sudden, he's sound asleep on the toilet by himself, and the paper catches fire, and all of a sudden his balls are on fire.
That's amazing. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I don't know how low his balls hung, though. It could have been something where it wasn't that hard. But he's like, to be awoken by flames hitting your balls, the toilet at 3 a.m. Holy shit.
Fuck, man.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I got to be honest. When you texted me this morning, it was, it's just one of those things. It's shocking, and it's crazy. It's this person that's been on Detroit for what it was. But I really felt bad for you, dude, honestly, because like I was thinking about it, and it's like I know what people can think, and I know that everyone has jobs, and maybe you hate your boss and you go to this, but the shit that you did with those guys, there's times in that like it's kind of like a football team mentality where you don't just like if you hate Jen down a few cubicles down, it can kind of just be like whatever. I say hi to her and I get out of there.
Yeah, for sure.
But you guys, the time that you spend, I mean, it's just different than some other jobs.
It's one of those jobs where you spend 12 hours a day together, and whatever you're trying to always one up each other. It's just like it's this weird room where you're either writing together or cracking jokes at someone's expense, and then that gets worked up into something even bigger, and the next day it's a discussion topic. You know what I mean? And so you're right, E, in that it wasn't like just being at the office with people you work with, some you like, some you don't. We were like, I mean, we spent more time together than way more than our families or, kids, whatever. We were always together, and, I'm glad I have those times. I know this is going to be a rough, while here for fans of that show, for sure. And E, you mentioned like kind of getting a behind the scenes look. When you walk in, you see him doing Mr. Stress, and those are the things I remember is like not necessarily what was going on the show, but the days of recording, Cliff Notes Theater, and we would help out a little bit, but Drew, for the most part, wrote all of those. And but then we'd get into a room, into the studio, it'd be locked, it'd just be just us guys, and we'd each get a script, and you'd be like, okay, I'll be so and so. Oh, who wants to play cop number one? All right, I'll be cop number one. Who wants to play the judge? I'll play the judge. And Drew or Mike would get the biggest roles. Obviously they'd be the lead in the Cliff Notes theaters, and recording those, and just the absolute joy in people's face when you got to a line that just exploded the room, and it became tough to get through it. It was like, fuck, that's funny. And you just knew once this gets produced and hits the air, people are going to fucking love this, and you put in the work, and Mike did such good work on some of those. Just so fucking funny. I can't off the top of my head think of certain ones, but I know his Rudy playing Rudy was
dude, that's
amazing.
literally what I was just going to say. It was just in my head right there. I want to go to Notre Dame or whatever. Like,
yeah, whatever, kid.
Yeah.
Like just all that shit, and being in that tiny room, like the golf outings, when we did the golf outings every year for shit, I don't know, a decade maybe.
Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels, yeah. We'd go out to he would hold his charity, trying to raise money for his Purple Rose Theater. And so we'd go out to the polo fields in Ann Arbor, and they quickly realized they better send a car with us because we were going to get fucking wasted and couldn't drive home from Ann Arbor. And, those days out on that golf course, it got to the point where we had like a gallery walking around with us because Clark was so fucking funny. He'd start drinking and doing shots right away, and
trying to golf with a full bowel.
Yeah, it's hard to golf with a full bowel. But he'd be talking to himself and the ball the whole time, and I've got a recording device, and Mark's got one, and so we're recording everything. And then we would take hours that night, going through and trying to find the best moments, and be like, oh, I'm gonna crush this cocksucker. All right.
You are right though, dude.
Say goodbye, you cocksucker. I'm gonna take the fucking skin off this ball. All right, here we go. Whoosh, and you'd hear that club swing, and it would pick up so beautifully on the whoosh, and he'd fucking hit like a half a foot before the ball, and the ball would just trickle off the tee.
God damn,
I really got a hold of that one there, Mikey. He's like, God fucking cocksucker, motherfucker. He'd be yelling at the ball. But some of those, man, that audio, I know people love that, and it was so fun being out there with him. That that one golf shot where he was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking destroy this cocksucker. All right.
So like, how can he get so confident every time?
He didn't give a shit. I know. He fucking smokes this ball. Whack. Actually connects. Beautiful. It's going up there, one of his condors, his illegal condor balls for distance. He would go out there with. They're illegals. And he smokes this thing. He's looking up at it, and it fucking all of a sudden it just dies like 100 yards from the green. And you're like. He's like, oh, man, that's a 200-yard shot, and I used a 100-yard club.
Oh.
Hit it with like a pitching wedge. He's like, oh, fuck. Finally got a hold of that one. I hit it with the wrong club. You didn't see that when you were standing over the ball? Oh my God, those were so fun. And Jeff Daniels loved it. He would walk around with us just laughing hysterically, man. It was just so much fun. And, just an awful day. Again, Trish, Cynthia, Dick Clark, Mike's dad. I'm sure there are more people than you even know that have you in their thoughts and prayers today. That's for damn sure. So, you know, I don't know. I don't really know what else I can say.
Well, dude, I mean, for me, honestly, you know what? I think it shouldn't, I mentioned those other 2 times, but the reality is that he was on this show at the beginning, and for me and my
Jay kicked him out.
Exactly.
Right.
That was a big concern for us, by the way. When you got here, you were like,
wasn't Mike Clark sitting here yesterday?
It was like, well, what are we gonna do? It's like,
fuck,
dude, I have to follow fucking Mike Clark and sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, let's give it a whirl. But that was not easy.
That's where I was mainly going with that, I guess, I suppose on a personal level, is just that, I mean, if you want to do something like that you wanted to do and that I wanted to do as a kid, and then like, even though I wasn't making any money, you're sitting here, all of a sudden I'm sitting here with you and Mike Clark doing a show together. I'm not going to say it's something like, oh, I could die now. I could have died then. But I mean, it was that big. I mean, I remember sitting here going, holy fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And the reality is without him, he brings a lot of people that gives this show big time credibility right at the beginning. And I'm very proud of what we do now and how far it's come. But I mean, who knows without him? I don't know.
Yeah.
So nothing against you, Walters, at any means.
Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. He's a legend in this town. There's no doubt about it. You see it anytime he posts something on Facebook or wherever, the response is through the roof. And, he earned that. He earned that with 22 years of #1 ratings in a major market. That's really fucking hard to do. It's Hall of Fame levels. My guess is that show will make it to the Hall of Fame at some point.
Well, that's what I said. The only person I told is my mom, because I wanted to tell somebody, so I called her up and something, and I said it sucks. Obviously, at too young, at an age that is
63,
too young, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I also said to her, I said, the dude, he didn't go to college, right? Like, he didn't have a college degree. He was just, a dude who worked at the, overnights on driving ambulances and the IT shit, and kind of finally found this little niche by calling in and forcing his way onto a thing. So my point was, it's not that it's okay, but he made a lot. Life. He made a lot out of the shit that could have been bad. It was still a very good life for something that could have, that just could have been a normal dude working what he did, and look what he got to do. So
yeah. He made the most out of 63 years.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. He and Trish will be taken care of for sure. And it's cool to think back. As I'm reminiscing all morning about the things that listeners got to hear, the phone messages about Michigan State,
right.
Him talking shit. He left those all on my phone, like,
hey, man. Was he a State guy, right?
Yeah, big time. Trish went to State. And so, yeah, he's a big State guy. And all those, hey, man, you can believe it. Fucking bowling, man. He just like went to the bowling alley by himself and drank beer and bowled one afternoon and called me. And I would just listen to these messages. And the cool thing was he wasn't doing it to like, oh, this will be a bit.
Yeah.
It's just that everything he did was so fucking funny. Like, I'd listen, and he didn't know he'd run your tape out. Like, he would talk for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and he'd forget that he was leaving a message. He'd be like, hey, man, you ain't gonna believe this, man. I'm fucking bowling. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm having some beers and fucking bowling, man. And it's pretty cool.
No, you're right.
There's just going on and on and on and shit. And then I'd listen back to it, and I'm like, I'd get in the next morning. I'm like, Drew, you have to hear this fucking message. Clark left me, and he'd be like, oh, let me hear it. I'd be like, no, you got to hear it live. I'll bleep it, and then we can air it. And it was just like, yeah, but anytime Clark leaves a message that you think is worthy, bring it on. And they were just so fucking funny, man. So funny. And big loss for sure. Big loss for sure. I feel like we should take a break before jumping right into other shit.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
Yep.
Yeah, sounds
so good. Yeah, tough day, everybody. I'm sorry if you're hearing about this the first time from us. That the passing of Mike Clark, it's awful, but he'll be remembered fondly by lots and lots of people. So we'll be back in a moment.
Detroit Cast continues after this short break. continues now, bitches. Here are Mike and Jay.
All right, welcome back to the show. Mike and Jay. It's a little more Mike Clark stuff here in just a moment. But before that, gotta pay some bills, Jay. Insurance. We all need it. Most of us don't know what kind of coverage we even have or who provides it. Let fellow TDC listener Brent Wasick from Wasick Insurance Services change all of that. Brent has over 30 years in the business, offers all types of insurance coverage, auto, home, health, life, business, commercial, more, and more. Call Brent Wasick at 734-455-1900. Get a free, no obligation quote today. Again, that's 734-455-1900. Ask for Brent Wasick at Wasick Insurance.
Moreover, Mike, if I may.
Sure.
You already know that Hamlin Pub is a great place to watch the big tackle ball game with your buddies, but are you aware of Hamlin Pub's amazing Tuesday and Thursday food specials? Tuesdays, they are burger and brew days. That's an Angus burger, fries, and your choice of 12-ounce domestic beer or pop, just $6.99. If pizza's more your thing, then get there on Thursdays when you'll get half off all pizzas. These specials are good, of course, at all 5 Hamlin Pub locations, Clarkston, Chesterfield, Rochester, and the 2 in Shelby Township.
God, one thing I'm really happy I did, Jay, over the years was hung on to a lot of the scripts that we wrote, on the Drew and Mike show, like Cliff Notes Theater would be like an 8-page thing, and Drew would handwrite it all out. And one day we're sitting there in the studio, and it's like he would just turn around, he would just like wheel his chair around and just like chuck the papers right into the garbage. And it was like the Michael Jackson script, shit like that. All of them, Cliff Notes Theater, boom. And one day I was like, these are kind of cool. I should probably just hang on to those. Like, why not?
You went fishing through the garbage, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, and so then I just started,
coffee stains and
cigarette burns all over the papers. Yeah, anything Clark wrote has a cigarette burn hole in the paper. Drew stuff, but it's cool to see like looking back at it now, like Drew would have notes in there.
Sure.
Because I would produce them, and so it'd be like he'd be like, oh, car racing down the street, siren, and so you wanted like a cop siren or something, or gavel for, Fellhauer playing the judge in this one. It's like gavel here and, and things like that. And so it was like, oh, this is just kind of a cool piece of history. Why not? And so I just started collecting them. And so I have shitload stacks of like all the original Michael Jackson scripts and Cliff Notes theaters. And I've been packing everything up. And so everything's kind of in boxes. I don't know where anything is because I wanted to bring out here. Mike Clark used to send the greatest Christmas cards. Like he wouldn't go shopping for you, but he'd give you like $300, $400, $500 at Christmas in an envelope, but he wouldn't go get a normal card. He would make it himself. And so he would print like a picture and he'd fucking edit it and shit'd be like, have a fucking sweet Christmas and fucking awesome Hanukkah. And he would write all his stuff on there, and then there'd just be money in there, and from him and Trish, and it was really cool. So I've got those cards somewhere. I'd love to be able to share them with you. But one thing I did find was one of his Bob Boner sketches. So, how's it hanging for the dynamic duo? And I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but these are handwritten Mike Clark.
I mean, you'd have to hold up. Yeah, that you can there.
And you get, can you see the cigarette butts and coffee stains? And it's maybe we can post the pictures of it. Would that be easy to do? I guess I could just post them on. But anyway, how's it hanging for the big men? To the leftists, we were supposed to say to the leftists, Bob. And this is the one he wrote about. And he would read these so fast. I said, you said, we doing? Oh, yeah, Bob Boner. And he was always selling some product. And this is for the iPod. And it was what is he saying here? It's Bob Boner's iPod, easy to operate, no clicking. The Boner responds to touch. Let your hands control what happens. If you want things bigger, take your fingers and pinch them open. Rub the iPad vigorously and watch the image get larger. So there's all kinds of innuendo and dick jokes and shit throughout it. But I think people will get a kick out of it. I'll try to take some pictures of it and post it today for people. Or maybe you can do that, E. And then we were talking, the three of us were sitting here, and Jay kind of had the idea, like, dude, he did a lot of good stuff in those early episodes of the Detroit Cast. Is there anything that you can think of that maybe we could play for people just to remind them, of the time he was on here? And he told a story on this show that he never told anywhere. He never brought it into the Drew and Mike show, and it was about him skydiving in high school, and he gave an interview for a local paper. And you can only imagine what a 17-year-old Mike Clark's quotes were like.
How do you sit on a story like this, by the way?
At the end of it, because I was wondering that, he's like, oh, man, I thought about bringing this into the Drew and Mike show 1,000 times. It was like, nope, the beating I would take, I just can't do it. He's like, but fuck it, whatever. And so he brought it in, and we go through it. And if you guys will indulge us. It's a pretty good. You get to hear Clark laughing a lot and swearing a lot and embarrassed a lot. So I think it's worth a spin. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Having the last podcast.
I do.
I ran into this. Remember I was talking about skydiving the last podcast?
I do.
I ran into this. You want me to read it to you? It's a story. What story? My very first interview in my entire fucking life was to do with skydiving.
Your what?
This is embarrassing to read this, by the way. I'm not sure I want to read this because this is really embarrassing. The very first interview that I ever did in my entire fucking life.
Oh, no.
Was when I jumped to school for lunchtime once. I parachuted to school.
Yeah.
In my senior year.
Uh-huh.
So the Rochester Clarion, this little tiny dinky little newspaper,
you have the interview?
Interviewed me.
No.
And I found this over the weekend.
Let me see.
I found that the goddamn newspaper story.
The first thing I see here when I read this, the headline, Drew. Is fucking Drew's name at the top of the thing. I mean, it's not.
It does. Oh my God, that's weirder yet.
That's weird.
Oh, that is. Wait. Is that ever strange, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently, because I ran into that.
Clark has been jumping for a year. You got to read this. At least you kept it in great condition over the years.
Yeah, right. What a mess. What a mess. Look at this piece of shit.
Did you keep that in your sock when you walked home?
Almost. It's a really shitty Xerox. You can hardly even read it.
Yeah.
And maybe I shouldn't read it. It's really embarrassing. I sound like a child.
Mike, it's probably 30 years old.
No, but I sound like a really cornball. Really bad.
Course.
I mean, really bad.
Now I want to fucking hear it.
Now we have to hear it.
Not that I don't these days, Not that I've changed. It's hard to even read this.
Do you want me to read it?
If you can. You want to?
Sure.
Maybe it is better if you read it. I don't want to read it. I don't even want you to read it.
Whoa, yeah, that is hard to read.
Can you even read it? It's hard to see, man.
The scene was perfect. It was sunny and crystal clear.
The scene was perfect?
And the crowd of admirers and bystanders who knew Mike Clark.
All right, that's good enough. We're done.
We'll end there for the day.
That's it. That's it for today, folks. Okay, this has been Detroit Cast number 34. Mike and Mike saying goodbye.
No, it was crystal clear in the crowd of Adams students who knew Mike Clark and those who knew of him came to watch
him. And those who knew of him.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Knew of him?
The story of the legendary story of Mike Clark.
Oh my God.
And those who knew of him came to watch him.
Oh fuck.
And 3 others.
You think I was some kind of a big fucking rock star, you know?
Yeah, you were.
Knew of him.
Knew of him.
Came to watch as Clark strapped the guitar on stage in front of all 3,000 students.
They came to watch him and 3 others jump 1.5 miles straight down. Mike is an Adams senior with the object of envy of most of the school.
The object of envy? Oh, fuck.
Mike, an Adams Sr., was the object of envy of most of the school as he floated down, almost like just another leaf into the field across Tinkin Road.
And by the way, I missed the target. And when he's being polite, I land in somebody's backyard between a telephone pole and their house because I totally missed the fucking field. Everyone else landed on target, and I drifted over the target.
Nice.
And landed across the fucking street.
I can't believe that, knowing what I read now. It was Clark's 90th parachute jump. It was the 90th parachute jump for the Adams Sr. It's a way of relieving your tension, Mike said. Of his skydiving.
Oh, stupid.
It's just a way of relieving your tensions.
Oh, that's so dumb.
The stoned Clark said of skydiving.
Oh,
when you're falling, you don't have a care in the world. There are so many things you can do. It's never tiring. Everything and everyone is different, man.
Oh, God. Shit.
And while Mike said he didn't think anyone would be there, the jump was scheduled during the Adams lunch period when students could watch. I'm not sure anyone will be there, but just in case, we scheduled it during lunch. So if
right.
anyone wants to come out and see this guy Clark here, yours truly, I am a senior.
Yeah.
Come on out at lunchtime.
Didn't figure anybody would be there, so we made sure and schedule when the whole fucking world could be there. It was jam-packed, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Oh, dear. Oh, shit.
Let's see. Okay.
Boy, that's probably good enough, Mike.
It came later, but the swarm of Adams students indicated they believed this was more of an experience, just watching, than whatever they would have been learning in fifth-hour class. So Clark got everyone there at lunch and then held it up a little bit. Why don't you fly a lap and let the crowd gather, man? See if we can't skip fifth period.
Oh, no, man. God, shit.
I caught a lot of those thermals, Clark said.
Oh, my God. That's a flashback. That was my excuse for missing the field, is that I was held up there by thermals,
man.
You know those things that the fucking gliders cook on to just stay aloft? I tried blaming the thermals, that I was floating up there too long, and that's why I missed the field.
Fuck, yeah, making excuses.
I can't believe I said thermals.
Yeah, I caught a lot of those thermals, man. I was like stuck at 1,500 feet for a long time.
There it is.
Usually on the average, it takes like 2.5 minutes to get to the ground. Clark has been jumping for 1.5 years, starting when he thought, I'd like to jump out of a plane and try it.
Oh, God, no.
He's continued to try it, joining the Thunderbolt Skydiving Club.
Oh, man, the Thunderbolt. I totally forgot that name. That's true. It's called the Thunderbolt. Oh, my God, is that a callback? The Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolt Skydiving Club. Folks like Gary Knudsen, Betsy Stollard, and Jill Stollard, brother and sister, and Adams students have joined since. They're all following Captain Clark's lead.
And you know what? That Gary Knudsen guy, he was a really smart guy, really smart, you know. He used to hang around with all the really smart kids. His parents had a ton of money.
Yeah.
And he saw that all these chicks were kind of hanging around because, you know, and so he decided he wanted to jump from a plane because maybe he could get some pussy.
Yeah, he saw the pussy Clark here.
He saw the pussy I had, so he wanted in on the action. So, and Betsy Stoddard, she was high. I wanted to fuck her so bad. I shouldn't say that in case she's a listener. No, she's not a listener, is she? Anyway, she was the cutest little girl. Oh, man. And but I never got anywhere with her, and she was a tease and a flirt.
Yeah.
And I never did her.
You should call her up.
Never did her. She blew me off.
It was after
fucking bitch.
It was after a reaction from Clark's parents that he had to be crazy, he said. The time when your mind is really blank is during like your first 10 jumps, Clark said.
Oh, corny. Fuck, is that corny?
After you get a little more experience, it's like walking down the street.
Oh,
it's
God.
equivalent to jumping off the roof of a car. When you land, it's about how it works.
Oh, that's about how it works.
What a douche.
What an asshole. Is this thing almost done?
Not even close.
Oh, fuck me. Really? Shit, fuck.
But there are precautions made. Ground training before the first jump includes instructions on how to land, how to deal with malfunctions, how to exit the plane and climb out on the strut, how to position yourself during the fall. During the first jump, the cord is like pulled automatically with almost no free fall time,
Yeah, boy.
Clark explained. At that time, you're really worried. During the first jump, I don't think anybody would even know his name.
Oh, jeez.
After your parachute's opened, they have a radio with you, and they talk back to you and down, telling you which way to turn.
Oh, God.
That first jump costs about $35. Ooh. Too rich for my blood.
It'll set you back big time. Of course, I was cash heavy at the time.
The first jump costs about $35 too, with the training and the cost of the instructor. Make sure everything goes right.
Oh, God.
Does he now?
Jesus Christ.
It gets less expensive the more you do it. Eventually only costing about $3 for a short jump.
Oh, God.
And with experience, a jumper gets into free fall, 5, then 10, then 15, up to 30 seconds.
Listen, the minutia.
Yeah.
Who cares?
You should have it open at like 2,500 feet, Clark said.
Oh, God. I must have been really talkative for this interview.
You were pretty stoned.
I must have been on some Christmas tree speed or something. Sounds like way too talkative.
You pull that ripcord about 2,700. Usually you jump at 7,500, which gives you a 30-second free fall, about a mile.
Oh, God, man. Now I sound like that last podcast. 7,500 feet and 30-second free fall.
Yeah. You read this. You copied it.
Oh,
The students were thrilled with Clark. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. It's worse. It's worse than that. Let me say that again.
It can't be worse than that.
The students were thrilled with the event, Clark added.
Oh, no.
Was it worse than I said? Was it worse?
Oh, no.
How thrilled with the event were the students, Clark?
I called it an event.
Clark, you are my hero for having the balls to bring this into this room.
I know. That's what I'm telling you.
You, sir, are a hero.
I knew I would take a beating for this. I knew
worth it.
One thing
I almost brought it into the Joe and Mike show. I don't know how many times, but for this very reason, I was like, no.
Can you
and then I lost it again.
If I had an arsenal of drops and music at my beck and call, what would happen to you if you tried bringing this shit into the Joe and Mike show?
Full well. All I can say is thank you, Jesus, that you don't have half your weaponry. That's all I know. This is so fucking bad. An event. Oh, no. Oh, God, I'm so embarrassed.
A lot of them, he's talking about the students now who are just thrilled at the event.
Oh,
a lot of them want to start jumping and everything, he said. But as time goes along, they think, I'm not really going to bother.
Oh, what? Oh, God.
But now
man.
I do think we'll have about 50 new students who would want to do it.
Oh, Jesus. They didn't pick up anybody. Nobody wanted to do it.
No. They thought it was really exciting.
Oh,
they thought they thought it perked up the school year and all that type of thing. Clark commented.
and all that type of thing.
Clark added. They thought it was really exciting. They thought it perked up the school year and that type of thing, Clark commented.
Did you ask them or did you just
No, he just knew. He just knew. He could feel it. You could feel it in the hallways.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
What a momentum lifter for the students.
Oh, God. That type of thing. That type of thing, Oh, fuck. It's got to be over soon.
Let's see.
God.
What's the next thing he plans on perking up?
Oh, no. Oh, no. What could this be?
Well, since you've already perked up the entire school, the student body.
How do you follow
that? How do you follow that up? Do we have an encore? Is that going to be another? Did you schedule another show?
My palms are sweating. I can't imagine what I'm going to say to this.
Maybe a wedding, maybe a carnival. He thought
a carnival.
Yeah, he's gonna jump in a carnival to really get everyone going.
Maybe I'll start doing carnivals or shit like that. I might fucking jump to a bowling alley or some shit.
Why would anyone want to go on a ride at a carnival when they can watch me on a free fall? I figured I'd jump over Cedar Point. Fuck the roller coasters. They can watch me free fall for 8 seconds.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. A fucking carnival.
Halftime of a football game was ruled out. It thrills a crowd, though.
What? It thrills a crowd.
It does. Clark would know.
Oh no! Halftime, it thrills a crowd.
You got to remember though,
Oh,
Evel Knievel was the shit at this time. Evel Knievel was Jesus
in
on
his
earth,
heyday,
and
his
Clark
heyday.
was like thought he was mini Evel Knievel.
He was my opening act.
Yeah,
man.
he
Evel
was.
Knievel was my opening act.
If you listen to this Clark guy, his senior year, you would have thought maybe
man.
possible.
Oh my!
It thrills
God.
a crowd. It thrills a crowd.
Oh man! It thrills a crowd. You know, that type of thing. If I already said that, or
Clark talking about
start doing carnivals, maybe arts and apples, or
a wedding. It was our special day. We were getting married, and just as we were saying our dues, this senior from Adams School jumped free fall out of the sky and made our day. We'll never forget our special day now as Clark free fell.
And floated like a leaf down onto the field across the way.
Screaming, yeah.
You know, that type of thing, you know.
Consider
really
yourselves
cool.
lucky I made this an event.
Your wedding is now an event, you know.
As for new jumpers. But they have to have the urge to jump. Not just to make an impression on everybody, on somebody. Clark said.
What? No, I did not say that. No fucking way did I say that.
Yes, you did.
Oh, no.
But they have to have the urge to jump, not just to make an impression on somebody.
Oh, my God.
The main thing is that you can handle any emergency as long as you keep your head straight.
Oh, man. Wow.
The indication was that otherwise
I'm mopping this on now. Fuck, man. I'm using a fucking trowel now.
Mike, I've never seen you embarrassed in my life. You are red-faced and
I'm way too hot.
We'll wrap it up here. I'm sorry. I know.
Hot. Everything is hot. I'm sweating.
We're going to have to walk you to the car. Make sure you get out.
Fuck, man.
The indication was otherwise a jump could be a bad trip.
Oh, wow. And it ends with some 70s expression for an acid trip.
That is the highlight. If this podcast dies tomorrow, it was well worth it.
Thank
for
you so
that
much.
story right there.
Fucking God. Oh, boy, that was fucking nasty.
Wow.
All right. Okay. All right.
All the bashing we've done on people for their comments in the papers, you had that coming, man.
Oh, I know.
You had that coming.
Boy, it's been a while since I took a beating like this.
It was awesome.
Oh, well, you did a nice job there, Mike.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad I read it, not you.
Yeah.
You would have skipped half that article.
Oh, yeah. No. I would have stopped. I would have stopped after the first paragraph.
Clark said it was a lot of fun, and he looks forward to future jumps.
God.
The end.
Fuck, shit. Jeez, Lord God. And remember I was talking about skydiving the last one?
There we go. Oh, there you go.
Awesome, man.
Isn't that hilarious?
Absolute classic laughter.
Yeah, that voice, dude. He's just got. Sorry, we're back live now. Jay and me and E are sitting here. That was the end of that bit. We probably should have tagged that with some sort of bell to let people know, but whatever. Dude, we're sitting here, just all of us laughing our asses off. It's just the way that laugh is so powerful, and then that fuck shit, dude.
Well, he's just at his best with the self-deprecating stuff, you know, where he's being tortured, but he's letting everybody go along with him, and
he's the
laugh
best.
At him. Hilarious.
And people I don't think people realize how hard that really, truly, honestly is to do, to be the butt of a joke or take that embarrassing story. That's why I give E credit for some of the shit he's told. And, you know, because I know how hard it is when it's like, oh, that dog licked my dick in the shower. I can't say that. I can't tell that story. And then you do, but you never really know how things are going to land. If people are going to go, what a fucking loser, what an asshole. But Clark took those moments and just ran with them and laughed harder than anybody at him. And so it's fun hearing his voice, and you know, it was a special 23 years to know that guy. What's up, Ian?
That was just so fucking funny. I'd forgotten about that, and you're right. And you said it earlier. I mean, Jay kind of said it, and you kind of described it too, but his storytelling, I guess sometimes you just forget, you know, we all go through our shit, and then you hear him tell one like that again, and you know, haven't listened to, you know, him tell some of these stories again in a while. So you hear one of those, and he's just so good. You're right at like being the butt of the joke. Like he knows he's getting murdered, but like he keeps going, and it's just the laugh and the way he he emphasizes certain points.
Just a lovable dude. You know?
Oh yeah, totally.
Laugh along with him. You know?
It was so fun over the years when we'd be out in public or something, and people would get their moment with him. because he'd talk to anybody. And so he'd be somewhere when smoking's not allowed. He'd end up outside with a couple listeners having a cigarette, and you'd go out there and they'd be the grins on their face just hearing him be like, so yeah, it's fucking bullshit, and these people are like, oh my God, he's right here doing what he does. And then they would say, if they said something funny, he would give them that same gut busting laugh.
Yeah.
And just light people up. And oh God, I remember I was sitting outside while that was playing for a minute, and I was thinking back to when he found Jesus when he was younger.
Yeah.
he had like a high school girlfriend, and he convinced her to take Polaroid pictures, nudes of herself. And so he had a shoebox.
Oh, and he always regretted getting rid of those when he found Jesus.
He found
right?
Jesus,
yeah.
and he threw them away.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck, man, I wish I had that box. She was fucking hot. Fuck,
Box
man.
of Polaroids.
He felt so bad that Jesus was going to frown on him.
Yeah.
He threw him away. But I know he came back to religion. He'd gotten really religious towards the end here. So I'm sure the Lord has forgiven him for his faults through the years. By the way, do you know those couches upstairs? Both of those he gave me.
I know,
dude.
In the wood room and in the living room.
Yeah, both of those giant fucking couches he gave me when I first moved into this house, and I was his dumping ground with shit. Like he'd be like, so any chance you want a ping pong table? Fuck yeah, do you want a ping pong table? So I took his ping pong table. He's like, so Trish and I bought these antique lamps years ago, and we're getting rid of them. Any chance you'd want them? I'm like, fuck yeah. I got a couple of antique lamps up there. And
Monster, right, too?
Monster. He bought Monster.
Oh, shit.
That's right.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's right.
Didn't want it? What?
Got
tired of it?
Wasn't it like
the
there was
Humane Society?
Yeah, they came. You can tell the story, I guess.
Yeah, the Michigan Humane Society came in, and I don't remember. We didn't do this very often, but it was like, oh, we've got pets up for adoption, and they brought, as a sample of the animals they had, they brought this cat was named Lily at the time, just a baby.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Lily.
Yeah,
that was not a Lily. Monster was not a Lily.
No. And you know what? Cyrowick went, because Monster would just like bite you and shit or swat at you, and he's like, yeah, Lily Munster, maybe. Lily Munster. Like what was the Munsters. From the Munsters, yeah. Lily Munster, and it just kind of morphed into Monster. But so they bring this cat in, and Clark falls in love with this fucking cat, this kitten. And he's like, I'm like,
decides
maybe
you need it.
I was like, fuck, maybe I should take that cat. He's like, oh yeah, you should totally take that cat. He's like, and I, at the time I'm making no money. It was just starting out there. And he's like, fuck it, I'll buy it for you. I will, because there was like $300 worth of filling out papers, and then it's
all
like
the shots and all that.
Yeah, to get everything done. It cost, I don't know, somewhere between like $200 and $300. He's like, fuck it, I'll buy it for you. And then he bought the cage, and he would bring toys in for her. And he's online drunk one night or something, and found this like ball puffy thing, like wool, felt like wool.
Yeah.
And he's like, supposedly cats love going in this thing and just chilling out. And so he fucking bought it and brought it over here. And the cat never touched it.
It's a nice gesture, nonetheless.
Cats
Absolutely.
are weird. Cats, they'll sit in a fucking paper bag, and then you'll spend, whatever on some thing, and they will be like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's just how they
climb
are.
into a paper bag and play with that all day.
Hey, quick interlude, gentlemen.
Yeah.
The Spooktacular savings are back from the dead with our repulsive friends Zott, Ford, and Holly. For the month of Rocktober, you can lease a new 18 Ford Escape as low as $57 a month. This squeamishly haunting deal will boog on before you know it, Mike.
Overbooed.
So slither your way to Zott Ford to see our zombie-rific friends and get your ghoulish new Ford Escape as low as $57 a month. Check out the bone-chilling deals and the horrifying inventory at dealsinthed.com.
Dude. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you. I know your first kind of interaction with Drew because we either talked about it on the show or I've talked about it with you when you were an intern. What was your first introduction to Mike? I don't know that I know that. Or do you remember?
Yeah. Sort of. I remember like the first day I was an intern and I got there. It was like, well, get there at 4 a.m. or something, 3:30 in the morning. So I did, and Drew was already there. Already prepping,
shock,
and it was Rob Schaefer and me. Trudy was probably there in her office, and Clark's not there. He's not getting there till 6. He comes strolling in the door at 6 like a fucking ball of fire. You'd hear him down that hall, through the kitchen. You can just hear him like fucking hold a fucking coffee. This is just this thing, and it would just get louder and louder as it got closer, and then it was just like, so what's up with you? I was like, oh, you're freaking out. I just met Drew. I've been listening to these guys on the radio for a year and a half since they started, and I guess it was something like that. It was probably really close to Showtime E.
Gotcha.
But I remember being in awe and just just one of those, kind of like you. He had one of those voices that just dominated any room you were in. I don't care where you were, in a restaurant. He didn't have a fucking lower volume. He'd fuck yeah, I want the mashed potatoes. Dude, he's so loud, other people be turning around, and you knew it right away. It was like that voice was so recognizable. When you're out in public, if Clark starts talking, it's going to draw a crowd.
Yeah, because the laugh for sure too. After listening to that clip, it's like, shit, that's undeniably him.
Yeah, totally.
The fucking just the runs he would get. I know you dealt with this again more than I did. I was only there for a year and a half or so. But like the idea, like I just remember, like all of a sudden one day I went to Big Boy and I told him, dude, you got to try the banana pies. They're fucking great at Big Boy. And like then it was like for 3 months we had to get. But he'd be like, I'd be like, Mike, where you want to go to food? Well, what about that Big Boy? And I'm like, yeah, you could get that pie. You're like, fuck yeah, we got that fucking pie.
Dude, he would get on kicks like that, where it was like he would send an intern to Big Boy every single day, and they would have to come back with a pie. And then someone was like, yeah, you got to try this key lime pie from somewhere else. And then for months, dude, we would have to send someone out to get these little mini key lime pies, and he would eat them during the show, and he'd take some home. But he did that with Welch's grape juice. He heard that was good for you. And there's a lot of antioxidants. And so every day he'd bring in giant bottles of Welch's grape juice and make us all drink it. And then he'd find, and then he got on a water kick.
Was he the BLT guy too, or was that all?
Yeah, he was BLT guy for sure. Yeah, Drew would eat anything, but Mike, definitely had his things. Just a character, man. And remember the time? Do you remember E when we were doing those games at the Silverdome? You probably remember that, Jay. When we would go and tailgate, and it was just in
the hot tub and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we got kicked out of there. When they listeners put signs all over the stadium, inside the stadium, covered up the Drew Blows signs that covered up the 2-minute warning. Clock and all that shit. And they literally found us in our seats and threw us out of there. But before that, we'd go there, and I've told this story before, how it was like Radio Row. So you'd have like 20 radio stations there and us, and ours, there'd be 20,000 people. And then you'd go around the corner and you just see fucking dust balls rolling past the other shows that were there, where nobody gave a fuck. Their own families were hanging out at our tailgates. They were insane. And then Clark he'd start drinking, and he wouldn't want to go to the game. His knee was all busted up, so it was hard for him to walk, and crowds were tough. So, but he said, like, third quarter of the game, he wakes up. He's been passed out in his fucking car for like 2.5 hours. Fuck, where am I? I think he woke up once after the game and the lot was empty. Oh, and he's fucking sleeping in his car. Fuck. Oh man. Duh, what a sad day. Well, I don't know, Jay. I kind of feel weird, like flipping gears and like doing other stories.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, I think we just kill it with reminiscing about Mike Clark. And
well, I would tell you, man. I mean, there's things on social media, like just certain things that happen, whether it's like big stories. And man, I've been going through my Facebook, and it's like 4:00 today, and I literally, I think I can't go 2 spaces without someone sharing it. I mean, the reality is how big that show hit with him and Drew, and how much people just work their jobs, and how many people he just got through. You talk about that laugh, and it's just like I said, when I go through social media and it's like that many shares, that many comments, it's crazy.
Well, he if you asked any one of us that worked on that show, we would all to a man say, like, the guy that connected with the city and individually with people was Mike Clark. The way he talked, the way he told stories, his over-the-top personality, that laugh. Like, he was the blue-collar in a blue-collar city. He was the blue-collar kind of guy on our show that got everybody, and every fucking body got him. And it doesn't shock me at all that people are devastated today. And, we'll probably see some nice tributes out there. And I'll try to go through some stuff, because I know there were times, I was telling you, Jay, I filmed like us doing Cliff Notes Theater one day in the studio.
That'd be cool.
I don't know where that is, but nobody's ever fucking gotten a glimpse inside that studio when we're doing a Cliff Notes Theater, and I can promise you it's fucking hilarious to watch us try to get through those lines. But like I said, I started filming stuff towards the end, and I don't know where a lot of that stuff is. So
well, you have some homework, Mike.
Yeah, if I can find that stuff, I promise you guys I'll get it out there. Like I said, everything's boxed up right now, so this is going to make it even harder. But there's some good stuff. I filmed the interview when Gilbert Godfrey came in, and Gilbert was laughing so fucking hard at Mike Clark, and Mike Clark was laughing so fucking hard at Gilbert Godfrey.
That must have been a fucking situation.
They were sitting from me to you, Jay, and they couldn't stop cracking each other up with their laughs. And I filmed the whole thing. I have it at head level. And they'd say one thing, and then they just die fucking laughing, the two of them together. It's hilarious. So I'll try to find some of that stuff. Don't hold me to it. This is more like a Mike Clark promise than anything. But if I can find it, I will. But why don't we shut it down there, guys? And sorry, everybody out there. I know this is a tough loss for the city and for all the diehard fans of the Drew and Mike show. So my best to Cynthia, Mike's sister, his dad, Dick Clark, and obviously Trish, and to Drew and Mark and Trudy and Jim and Joey and all of us that worked with him over the years. So with that, we'll call it a day, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Listening to the Detroit Cast with your hosts, Mike and Jay. From all of us at Radio for One Studios, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you, Detroit. Listen to